Well, good evening, everybody. So glad to see you here. Well, we would have a good time anyway. Boy, it seems a little loud here. Let me turn this down a little. Okay. And so we're going to play some fun New Orleans style tunes. And we'll start one from the Halfway House called When I'm Blue. And the lyrics were written by my banjo playing buddy in Florida.
What's the format here?
First just once, then stand a chorus.
And what's
On one page.
there's a jazzy chorus then.
Oh, there is 2 pages. Hey, there's 2 pages if you flip up.
So just straight down then. And stay on the last part.
Yeah, we'll go straight down to page 2, stay on the last page for the solos and everything.
All right.
Okay?
Gotcha.
Okay? Bum, 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 dun, dun. 1, 2, ooh, ah. Roger. When I'm blue and all alone, I think of you, my one and own. Then my mood turns around to be rosy. Yes, it does. When I'm blue, my chin is down. I think of you and I lose my frown. You're the one who make me feel so cozy, cozy, cozy. When skies turn colder, sorry I think of you. I get happier, sappier, drapper, skies turn blue. When I'm blue and feeling sad, I think of you and then I'm glad I got you and that I can never get to me blues. When I'm blue and all alone, I think of you, my one and own. Then my mood turns around to be rosy. Well, what is doing that? We'll fix that right away. Well, we're going to get Roger to sing one, somebody with a real voice. But we got Roger. Clarinet melody. Here's a pretty little tune from 1929, written by a guy you might have heard of, Mr. Fats Waller. And the title is Blue Turning Gray Over You. I have it in here, I do. Verse this once.
Verse this once. It's the first thing I've ever heard.
Huh?
It's the first thing I've ever heard.
Okay, Fats Waller, Andy Rezoff. One, a two, a
Gee, how I miss your tender kiss and those wonderful things, oh, that you would do. Now I run my hands through these silvery strands. You left me blue, turning gray over you. You used to be so good to me, but that's when I was a novelty. Now you've got those new friends in view. I hear you found somebody new and left me blue, turning gray over you.
Thank you, Roger. That was very nice. What is this thing? Oh, I see what's wrong. Okay, now we won't get so loud. Okay. Well, we're going to play a little up-tempo tune here. This is another Fats Waller tune? Yeah, this is another one by Fats. And I think he wrote this talking about my clarinet playing. Thought it was a minor drag. A major drag, yeah, okay. O-M-I. Okay. So, 1929, another great year of traditional jazz. Fats Waller wrote this one tune called Minor Drag. So, intro. You do. Okay. A, B, then stay on A for a while.
But it's AA, right?
Yeah, A, B, A, B, B, then A for a while. Okay, we got a plan. Bum, ba-dum, ba-dum. 1, 2. thank you, Fats. That was a pretty good little tune. Pretty swinging little tune. Oh, we're going to do one a little more laid back, a little bit more. It's laid back one whole year, back to 1928. And it's called, it's written for husbands. And they ask the musical question, honey, what do you want me to do? The musical question, does this have lyrics? Seems like it should have lyrics. It does. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'll sing these. Okay. I like this tune because it has two sections, both a verse and a chorus. Both are equally nicely written by Lonnie Johnson. And Clarence Williams and King Oliver claim some ownership here, but I think it's questionable. What do you want me to do? One, two, one, two. Nice little tune, Lonnie, for 1928. You almost made it to the best year, but we'll take that. Well, we're going to do one by Jimmy McHugh now.
G7.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. In the cafe, in the town, you are known as a clown. How happy you seem to be, you seem to be. But in back of your smile, there's a tear all the while, and heartaches that no one can see. For the life that you lead isn't real. Here we go. For my friend, I know just how you feel. Yes, I do. You've got rings on your fingers and heartaches inside. You're the lonesomest gal in town. Well, you're everybody's buddy, but nobody's bride. You're the lonesomest gal in this town, this town. Yeah. Too many parties that bring you no fun. Too many bright lights, but never the sun. Oh, too many sweethearts, but never the right one. You're the lonesomest gal in town. Play it, Russ, so big. Jimmy McHugh. And Irving Mills, 1925. Good year. You might notice everything we're doing here in the first set's from the 1920s. So, we're going to do an old blues for you now. And we hope it's in my book for a change. I didn't really need the music, did I?
No. Killed it.
We're going to do a tune written by Ma Rainey, a wonderful black blues singer from the 20s. 1920, she wrote this one. It's called Oh My Babe Blues. There's a couple little tricks here. As soon as I get the music up. O-H. Hey, it's in here. All right. Let me just talk to the band a moment. So the last time, rhythm section lays out for 4 bars there.
Just go on.
See that? So I'll give you the signal. And then just the front line is going to play. Bum, 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 da. 1, 2, 1. How about that Jason Barratte on the piano? Nice stuff. Well, they found that one. Good one. Good little tune. Good for Ma Rainey. And meanwhile, we will take a little break here and be back with one more set. Everything Sidney Bechet wrote is not in the 20s because he lived 20 years later than that, most of his career. But here's one he wrote in 1941, Georgia Cabin. So I guess... top to bottom. Here we go. 1, 2, 1. Okay, time for just two more tunes. Only time for one more, but we're playing two more tunes. Here's one other tune by Fats Waller. We can't leave this out. And Roger's going to sing this one. Aren't you, Roger?
I guess.
You got a feeling for it?
Oh, honey, I've got a feeling for it. That's the first words, oh, honey.
Oh, honey. Oh, you're going to sing the verse.
Yeah.
Okay. Fats Waller, Billy Rose, 1929. One, two, one.
Never felt this way. Romantically, I'm in the air. It's funny, so funny, me taking it this way. Don't know if I should, oh, but gee, it feels good. I'm flying high, but I've got a feeling I'm falling. Falling, no poor buddy, no else but you. You caught my eye, and I've got a feeling I'm falling, falling for nobody else but you. I used to travel single-o, we changed to mingle-o, now I'm a tingle over you. Hey, Mr. Parson, stand by, for we've got a feeling we're falling. Falling, nobody else but you.
thank you all for being here. I'll tell you who's in the band here today. From Chicago on clarinet and cornet, Andy Schumm. From Chicago on trombone and the wonderful vocal, Mr. Russ Phillips. All the way from Sterling on the piano with a laryngitis, but he can still play. Jason. Barratte. Jason Barratte. Okay. All right, give him another hand. That's right. I remember. Well, I remember this guy, Roger Hintzsche on the banjo and the guitar, and the vocals. And we can't forget the bass sax guy and the vocalist, Mr. Aaron Butler. Oh, I'm from DeKalb, and I'm John Skillman. And we're going to end up with a tune that started life as a tune called Maisie. And another guy rewrote it, and he called it Martha. And I rewrote it and called it Martha 2. So here is Martha 2. Version D, score 4. So stay on the top half until I call out, and then we'll do this little riff. Okay? Just me in the rhythm section, first time. Bum, bum, bum. 1, 2. for coming. The New Normal Jazz Band, Partly Normal. Good night.
No, I said now you're practicing.
Oh, I thought you said that was fast.
No, that wasn't fast enough.
Good job, some of you guys.